The woman I had loved since childhood, my fiancée, had just walked away from our engagement. Even my sister, the person I'd leaned on since our mother passed, had seemingly forgotten Mom's dying words. All because they had both fallen for the same man, Liam Foster, a scholarship student from a struggling rural town whom my father had brought into our lives after remarrying. On my birthday, Sarah stayed by his side. When I asked her why, she simply sneered, "Caleb Vance is a golden boy. What could a girl like me possibly offer a man who already has everything?" On the anniversary of my mother's death, my sister Natalie chose to spend the day celebrating with Liam and his mother. "He's had such a hard life, Caleb," she told me. "We're a family now. I'm just showing him some kindness. Don't overthink it." As the two of them stood by Liam's side while he received accolades that weren't his, I struck a match and set fire to the house that held a lifetime of our memories. I cut every tie and staged my own disappearance from Chicago. But when news of my death finally reached them, the two women who had despised me suddenly lost their minds. They returned to the ruins of our old home, falling to their knees in the ash, weeping as if their hearts had broken. I remember clearly the last time I brought up the engagement with Sarah Montgomery. The room fell into a suffocating silence before everyone erupted into laughter. Sarah's face held nothing but impatience. Her eyes were filled with an unconcealed disgust. "Honestly, Caleb," one of her friends jeered, "it's the 21st century. People date for love now. Who still talks about family promises made in diapers?" "If you ask me," another chimed in, "he's just panicked because he's losing the girl and the inheritance at the same time. Poor little rich boy. Ha ha ha." I ignored the mockery of the crowd, my gaze fixed solely on Sarah. Her raven hair fell over her shoulders, but my eyes were drawn to the faint, pink marks on her pale neck and collarbone. They were unmistakably Hickey's. A sharp, stabbing pain flared in my chest, followed by a wave of nausea. "Those were just jokes our parents told when we were kids," Sarah said, looking up. Her smile was laced with disdain. She looked at me lazily, making sure everyone heard. "Caleb, we're adults now. Let's leave the childhood fantasies in the past." I stared into her cold eyes, my mind going blank. I opened my mouth to speak, but the door swung open. It was Liam Foster, dressed in a waiter's uniform, carrying a tray of drinks. When he saw me, a flicker of fear crossed his eyes. He stammered, "Caleb, I mean Mr. Vance." He glanced at Sarah, sensing the tension in the room. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll leave right away." His voice trembled. He set the tray down hastily, turning to flee, but Sarah suddenly reached out and shoved it. Glass shattered across the floor, and expensive bourbon splashed everywhere. A shard of glass sliced through my forearm, and I felt the hot sting of blood beginning to soak my sleeve. Sarah didn't even look at me. Her face darkened as she stepped toward Liam. She reached out and began pulling the waiter's jacket off him, her voice thick with reproach. "How many times have I told you? You're not allowed to work these jobs anymore." Liam hung his head in shame, his voice cracking. "You and Natalie have given me so much already. I wanted to prove I could earn my own way. You're a designer, Liam. You're an artist. You aren't meant to be clearing tables. Do you understand?" Sarah's voice softened as she tossed the uniform aside, looking at him with pity. "Natalie, and I just want what's best for you. I'm saying this once. No more manual labor." Then she snapped her gaze toward me, her eyes freezing over. "If anyone dares to bully you again, they'll have to answer to me." I clutched my bleeding arm. Amidst the noise of the party, I stared back at her, my expression flat. This club was a Vance family property. Sarah clearly assumed I had forced Liam to work here just to humiliate him. But Liam had been pampered by her and my sister for months. They treated him like a fragile prince. He had more money than he knew what to do with. Why would he be moonlighting as a waiter? I knew that even if I called the manager to testify, Sarah wouldn't believe a word of it. In her eyes, I was the arrogant, spoiled heir, the villain of the story who spent his days crushing the kind-hearted protagonist. "Caleb," Sarah stepped in front of Liam, shielding him. "I'm not good enough for a great man like you. The engagement was a joke. Let go." The room went silent again. Liam looked pale, hovering behind Sarah and gripping her sleeve, his body actually shaking. The others in the room watched me warily, as if I were a ticking bomb. In that moment, I almost wanted to laugh. Ever since Liam's mother moved into our house, Liam had wedged himself between Sarah and me. The love that had once been mine alone had shifted toward the Fosters. And because I was used to being the one they cared for, I hadn't handled it well. I had fought, I had screamed, and I had only succeeded in driving everyone I loved straight into Liam's arms. Now I was just tired. I was finished. I nodded slowly. "Fine." I took a few steps forward. Sarah instinctively backed up, keeping Liam behind her. Caleb, what are you doing? I let go of my arm and held out my hand. My palm was a smeared canvas of red. Sarah's eyes flickered, the ice in her gaze melting for a fraction of a second. But Liam stepped forward then, summoning a false sense of courage. Mr. Vance, this is all my fault. I'm the one who came between you. If you're angry, take it out on me. Don't blame Sarah. His voice became choked with emotion, tears welling in his eyes. I'll leave. I'll leave right now. Sarah grabbed his arm, her face twisting with heartache. I told you, I've got you. She wiped a tear from his cheek and turned back to me. The melting ice had refrozen, harder than before, and now it was tinged with pure loathing. Caleb, haven't you caused enough of a scene? I cut her off. My voice was calm. I agreed to end the engagement, but I want my things back. Sarah blinked, confused. What things? I reached up and unclipped the locket from around my neck. It was a family heirloom Sarah's mother had given me when we were children to seal the promise. In exchange, my mother had given her a priceless vintage bracelet, a gold filigree piece passed down through generations. You take the locket. Give me the bracelet. Sarah's expression curdled. She looked at the locket in my hand. For years, I had never taken it off. Everyone in our circle knew how much I treasured it. Stop acting like you're heartbroken, Sarah said, snatching the locket from me. Do you think everyone is as obsessed with sentimental trash as you are? I'll find it when I get home and send it to you. Then we're even. I said nothing. I turned around and walked out of the club. When I got home, my sister, Natalie Vance, was waiting for me in the living room. Caleb, I need to talk to you about something. She handed me a stack of legal documents she had already prepared. Liam has suffered so much in his life. Our family has more than enough money. It's time he enjoyed some of it. I'm planning to transfer these properties into his name. I glanced at the papers. These weren't just random assets. They were the businesses and real estate my mother had brought into the marriage, her personal legacy. I took the file and, without a word, ripped it into shreds. Caleb, Natalie stood up, her face flushed with anger. I already handled the fallout from that time you hired those guys to jump Liam. He's been through enough. What's the big deal if I give him a few properties? Do you even remember Mom's last words? I asked. Natalie went quiet. On her deathbed, our mother had held our hands. She told me to protect my sister, to be her rock, and she had specifically begged Natalie to look after me, to make sure I was never mistreated. We were the only real family we had, considering our father was a serial cheater who only cared about his bottom line. I remember, Natalie whispered. But Caleb, Liam is our brother now, too. He's so vulnerable. We're family. I'm just looking out for him. You're being so selfish. She sighed, shaking her head. Why can't you be more like him? Why can't you learn some humility? It was so absurd I wanted to laugh, but the tears leaked out before I could. Natalie, I don't care what Vance family scraps you give him. You can give him the whole empire for all I care. But Mom's inheritance? No one touches that. Ever. Natalie looked away, muttering under her breath. It's not like the Vance name has anything worth keeping anyway. I froze. She was right. What was there to keep? Everything in this house, from the people to the furniture, was rotten to the core. Don't forget Mom's memorial service is the day after tomorrow, I said coldly as I headed upstairs. I won't forget. Get some sleep, Caleb, she called out. I didn't look back. I stayed awake all night. This house was a graveyard of memories. I spent the hours sorting through them. Anything that could be broken, I smashed. Anything worth money, I boxed up to be donated. I took every photograph of us and threw them into the fireplace. All that was left was the house itself, the small estate my mother had lived in when she first married into the family. After she died, Natalie and I had refused to move out. As for our father, he had moved out years ago to live with Liam and his mother. Lately, Natalie was rarely here either. Sarah used to come over every single day. Now, she never showed her face. I stood on the balcony, clutching my mother's portrait, letting the tears fall. Eventually, I drifted off into an exhausted sleep. The anniversary of my mother's death was the day after my birthday. She had fought with everything she had to stay alive just long enough to see me turn 10, passing away hours after the candles were blown out. Back then, I was inconsolable, and Sarah had stayed by my side, refusing to even blink for fear I'd disappear. For 7 years, she was the only one who celebrated with me. This year was my 8th birthday without Mom, and for the first time, Sarah was absent. Not that it mattered anymore. Even though Sarah wasn't there in person, Liam Foster was everywhere online. His Instagram was updated all night long. Sarah said she didn't have a reason to celebrate, so she decided we should celebrate my phone's birthday instead. Just an excuse for cake, LOL, his caption read. The photos showed a magnificent 3-tier cake, a tower of champagne, and Liam surrounded by luxury gifts and keys to a new sports car. He looked like a pampered prince. In one shot, he was looking at someone off camera with soft, adoring eyes. Sarah was in the background of another, looking at him with a tenderness I hadn't seen in years. Everything in those photos, the attention, the gifts, the love, was supposed to be mine. Now it was Liam's. I turned off my phone and tossed it aside. Closing my eyes, I whispered a wish to the empty room. Please watch over me, Mom. Let me get away from these people. Let me leave this rot behind. On the morning of the memorial, my father sent over a bouquet through an assistant. I waited at the house for hours, but Natalie never showed. I called her 3 times. She didn't pick up. On the 4th try, Liam's mother answered. Caleb, is something wrong? Do you need Natalie? Today is my mother's memorial, I said, my voice like ice. Oh goodness, look at my memory. I completely forgot it was her day. Listen, our dog, Buster, just had her puppies this morning. Natalie and Liam have been so busy helping the vet, they must have lost track of time. Should I tell her to head over? Though I suppose she'd be late by now anyway. Auntie, who's on the phone? I heard Liam's voice in the background. It's Caleb. He sounded a bit upset. I'm not sure why. Hey, Caleb, what is it? Natalie's voice finally came on the line. I hung up. Buster. A dog. They missed our mother's memorial because of a dog. At the cemetery, I looked at the black and white photo on the headstone. My mother was smiling, looking as warm as a spring breeze. It was April cherry blossom season, but as I knelt in the grass, I felt like I was at the bottom of a frozen canyon. I cried and told her everything. I told her it was okay, that as long as I was alive, she would never be forgotten. Afterward, I went to my lawyer's office to sign the final papers. When I returned to the house, I was surprised to see Sarah, Natalie, and Liam standing in the driveway. Liam was holding a bouquet of flowers, a smug grin plastered on his face. Natalie seemed to have no memory of the morning's missed memorial. She immediately began gushing about Liam. Caleb, you won't believe it. Liam's design portfolio just won a national award. Isn't that incredible? I'm just trying to keep up with you and Sarah, Liam said with full modesty. You're already better than her, Sarah said, taking the portfolio from him and glancing at me with a smirk. Caleb spent years studying under masters and never produced anything this good. Liam, don't be humble. You have raw talent. I stood there in silence. Then my eyes caught the lines on the top sketch in the portfolio. My heart skipped a beat. I stepped forward and snatched the folder out of Sarah's hands. I flipped through the pages, my pupils shrinking. I knew every curve, every shadow, every meticulous detail. Liam hadn't won an award. He had stolen my portfolio. Liam, you thief. You stole my work. I was shaking with rage. I moved toward him instinctively, but before I could reach him, Sarah grabbed my wrist. The force was sudden and heavy. Sarah had trained in MMA since she was a kid. She could hold her own against most men. I had trained too, once, promising I'd be strong enough to protect her and Natalie. But I wasn't expecting her to turn that strength on me. She shoved me hard, and I stumbled, falling awkwardly onto the gravel. Caleb, I'm so sick of your drama. Sarah yelled, standing over me. Just because you can't stand to see Liam succeed, you accuse him of stealing? Are you even a man? Caleb, I know you hate me, Liam whimpered, looking devastated. But I would never touch your things. How could you say that? I looked at Natalie. My laptop was the only place those files were stored. She was the only one with a password. Natalie shifted her gaze, looking guilty. In that moment, the last piece of my heart crumbled. Caleb, look at yourself, Sarah said, her voice dripping with pity. She reached in her pocket and threw something at me. It was the gold bracelet. It hit the dirt next to my hand. I honestly don't know why I ever thought I loved you. I let out a cold laugh, but as I moved to stand, my eyes locked onto the watch on Liam's wrist. My entire body went cold. It was a custom-made ruby watch. It was my mother's last gift to me. I cherished it so much I rarely wore it out of the house. Now it was sitting on Liam's wrist like a cheap trinket. Natalie, how dare you give a mom's watch? I screamed, my eyes bloodshot. I looked like a cornered animal. Natalie bit her lip, looking a little startled. Caleb. Liam looked down, fumbling to take the watch off. I'm so sorry, Caleb. I'll give it back right now. I didn't know it belonged to your mother. He started to cry. Natalie's heart clearly broke for him. Liam, stop. I gave it to you. You don't have to give him anything. She turned to me, her expression hardening. It's just an object, Caleb. Liam liked it, so I gave it to him. I'll buy you a better one, okay? I felt like I was suffocating. Natalie, that watch isn't yours to give. I would rather smash it into 1,000 pieces than let it stay on the wrist of a homewrecker's son. Natalie's face flushed with anger. Caleb, why are you blaming Liam for what our parents did? It has nothing to do with him. Liam's tears were flowing now. Sarah immediately stepped in to wipe them away, glaring at me. Caleb, don't you dare go too far. It's just a watch. Liam, we don't want his trash. She reached out, unbuckled the watch, and threw it hard onto the ground. Come on, I'll buy you a Rolex tomorrow. Natalie sighed, looking at me with profound disappointment. Caleb, why do you have to be like this? Liam has had such a hard life. Why can't you just show some grace? You're the older brother. Try being the bigger person for once. And it's just one design award. You'll have plenty of chances, but Liam needed this. He needs to build a name for himself, so Sarah's family will accept him. In the world of high society, pedigree was everything. If Liam couldn't change his birth, he had to prove his worth through talent. Natalie tried to reach out to help me up, but I slapped her hand away. Caleb, I started to laugh. I stood up on my own and looked her in the eye. Natalie, it was the last time I would ever call her sister. You're going to regret this. I hope it was worth it. Natalie frowned and looked away. I'll make it up to you, Caleb. I promise. Then she turned and ran after Sarah and Liam. I knelt and picked up the bracelet and the watch. The bracelet was fine. The watch was sturdy, but the face had a tiny, jagged scratch across the glass. I pressed them against my chest. I didn't cry this time. The pain was so sharp it had gone numb. I realized then that when your heart truly breaks for the last time, you don't make a scene. You just go quiet. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the world went dark. The weather report had warned of a heat wave and dry winds. Late that night, I gathered everything that reminded me of them and threw it into the fireplace. I looked at a photo of Sarah and Natalie flanking me, all of us laughing. It looked like a cruel joke now. As the flames licked the edges of the photo, their smiles vanished into ash. I watched a stack of old letters burn. Natalie's letter. We're the luckiest siblings in the world. I'll protect you and love you forever. Sarah's letter. I'm going to marry Caleb one day, and we'll be the happiest couple on earth. They had once told me my life was more important than theirs. Now, the ink was faded and the paper was yellowed. Their promises had blown away long ago. The fire spread quickly, catching the curtains and the dry wooden furniture. Thick black smoke began to curl toward the ceiling. I stood in the center of the room, the heat flushing my face, the smoke stinging my eyes. My phone rang. It was Natalie. I didn't answer. A moment later, Sarah called. I ignored that too. Just as I was about to delete their numbers for good, a text from Sarah popped up. Caleb, Liam is your brother now. We're family. I hope you can be the bigger person and congratulate him on his big night tomorrow. I'll buy you that car you wanted if you just apologize to him, okay? Natalie's message followed immediately. Caleb, I promise I'll make it up to you. I shouldn't have given him the watch, I know. I'll have a custom one made for you. Please, just forgive me. I smiled. No feeling, no anger. Just the slap followed by a candy routine they always used. I used to fall for it every time. Now I just type back. To Sarah, I wish him everything he deserves. I hope he rots. To Natalie, I'm disgusted that you're my sister. I'm disgusted Mom had a daughter like you. I blocked them both. I grabbed my suitcase, took one last look at the house, and walked out into the night without looking back. The wind picked up, fanning the flames. Within an hour, the entire villa was an inferno. The house that held all our history was being reduced to a hollow shell of ash. At the awards gala, Liam Foster was dressed in a tuxedo, preparing to take the stage. Sarah's phone buzzed. Irritated, she went to silence it, but a text caught her eye. Sarah, something happened at the Vance house. Call me now. Sarah scoffed. Caleb had just texted her. He was clearly fine. She felt a surge of annoyance. Liam was about to have the biggest moment of his life, and Caleb was trying to ruin it with another stunt. She declined to call. When her friend tried calling again, she silenced the phone. Sarah, I'm so nervous. Liam whispered, looking at her. Sarah squeezed his hand. Don't be. I'm right here. The announcer called Liam's name. Sarah adjusted his lapel one last time, beaming as he walked up to the podium. Under the bright lights, he was the center of the world. He took a breath and began his speech. Sarah's phone rang again. Angrily, she stepped into the hall and picked up. What is it? Sarah, the Vance house burned down last night. It's a total loss. Her friend's voice was frantic. The security footage shows Caleb went inside and never came out. They think he's gone. Sarah laughed. Nice try. Tell Caleb he can stop the theatrics. I'm not falling for it. She hung up and powered off her phone. Nearby, Natalie's phone rang. It was the same caller. She moved to answer, but Sarah snatched the phone and ended the call. It's Caleb trying to sabotage the night, Sarah said. Ignore him. Natalie frowned. What is he doing now? He's jealous. He wants attention. He's trying to kill Liam's buzz. Unbelievable. Natalie muttered, her face hardening. She turned off her phone too. He's gone too far this time. He needs a lesson. They walked back into the hall. and joined the standing ovation for Liam. He smiled at them from the stage. "I wouldn't be here without two people," Liam said into the mic. "My best friend, Sarah Montgomery, and my sister, Natalie Vance. Thank you for believing in me." Sarah and Natalie beamed. In that moment, Liam was their whole world. After the ceremony, they decided to fly to a private island to celebrate. On the way to the airport, Liam asked about the calls. "I thought I heard someone say Caleb called. Is everything okay?" "Don't worry about him," Sarah said. "He supposedly set the house on fire to get our attention." "Sarah, don't say that," Liam said softly. "He just wants you guys to love him. It's my fault. If I weren't around, he wouldn't do these crazy things. Maybe we should go back and check on him? If he screams at me, I can take it. If he hits me, I'll just be quiet." Liam looked like a kicked puppy. Sarah immediately pulled him into a hug. "You are too good for this world, Liam. That's why he keeps walking all over you." "We're going back," Natalie added. "He'll be fine." Just then, Natalie's phone, which she had just turned back on, rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, this is the New York Police Department. Am I speaking with a relative of Caleb Vance?" Before Natalie could answer, Sarah leaned over and spoke into the speaker. "Nice try, Caleb. Hiring someone to play a cop? That's a new low. Ma'am, this is Officer Miller, badge number 4492. We receive a report of a structural fire in the East Side District. Security footage confirms Mr. Vance entered the premises and never exited before the building collapsed. The fire was too intense. We've only recovered a few items. We need someone to come in for identification." Sarah's lip curled. "Listen, officer, tell Caleb to give it up. We're not coming." She hung up and blocked the number. Caleb was a cockroach, she thought. He'd never actually die. They landed on Sarah's private island, where everything had been curated to Liam's tastes. At sunset, while they were out on the boat, Sarah saw a news notification on her iPad. "Tragedy in the East Side. Historic villa destroyed in overnight blaze." The report said the fire had been so intense that by the time the neighbors called 911, the house was already gone. They hadn't found a body yet, but the footage showed no one leaving the building. The occupant was presumed dead. Sarah's fingers began to tremble. "Sarah, let's take a selfie. Say cheese." Liam leaned in, holding a selfie stick. The scent of his cologne filled the air, and Sarah instinctively leaned into him. He looked beautiful. "You're so pretty, Sarah," Liam whispered, his lips brushing her ear. The mood shifted, and they leaned in for a kiss. Back at the villa, Natalie was staring at the same news report. Her heart began to race. She hesitated, then tried to call Caleb. "The subscriber you're trying to reach is not available." She tried again, and again. That hit her. He had blocked her. She threw the phone down in a huff. He was just being dramatic. He was probably hiding in some hotel, waiting for them to come crawling back. She decided she'd give him a week. He needed to learn that he couldn't keep crying wolf. A week later, they returned to New York. Sarah took Liam to her family home. Her mother, Mrs. Montgomery, was sitting in the study. She didn't even look at Liam. "Caleb is missing, presumed dead. And instead of looking for him, you bring his father's mistress's son into this house?" her mother said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "How did I raise someone so cold?" Mrs. Montgomery had been best friends with Caleb's mother. After she passed, she had treated Caleb like her own son. Sarah gave Liam a reassuring look, then turned to her mother. "Mom, don't let Caleb play you. He burned that house down for attention. It's a pathetic stunt." Her mother sighed. "You've had everything your whole life, Sarah, but you lack the most basic empathy. You only see power and leverage." "You don't have to believe me," Sarah snapped. "But the police aren't lying. Go with Natalie to pick up his remains then. See the truth for yourself." Sarah's face went pale for a second, but she stood her ground. "I'm not going. It's exactly what he wants." Liam added, "Ma'am, I think there's a misunderstanding. Caleb has lied to Sarah before." "Do you only have the ability to see what others tell you?" her mother asked Sarah, ignoring Liam entirely. Sarah's chest heaved. "Fine. I'll go. I'll go just to show you he's faking." She stormed out of the room, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood. Liam hurried after her, breathless. As they drove, Sarah felt a sudden, crushing weight in her chest. An inexplicable dread was beginning to suffocate her. "The subscriber you're trying to reach is not available." The automated voice was all she heard, over and over. She called Natalie, but Natalie didn't pick up. Liam tried to speak, making a soft sound of discomfort to get her attention, but Sarah didn't even look at him. "Drive faster," she barked at the chauffeur. Liam reached out to touch her shoulder. Sarah breathed. "It's okay." Usually, Sarah would have melted into his touch. Now, she flinched away. "Liam, he's a spoiled brat. He couldn't handle a paper cut. There's no way he actually stayed in that house, right?" "Exactly," Liam soothed. "He loved himself too much. It's all my fault. If I weren't here. Sarah didn't hear him. She stared out the window, her face a mask of cold fury and hidden terror. Liam realized he'd lost his hold on the conversation and went quiet. They arrived at the East Side property. Sarah stepped out of the car and stared at the ruins. The house was gone. Only the blackened skeleton of the foundation remained. The air still smelled of wet ash and scorched plastic. It was real. The news, the calls, her mother's words. It was all real. Sarah stumbled toward Natalie, who was sitting on a piece of debris. Natalie's eyes were bloodshot. As Sarah approached, Natalie stood up and slapped her across the face. Sarah reeled back. Liam cried out and tried to help her, but Sarah shoved him away so hard he fell. She slapped Natalie back, and the two women began to brawl in the ashes until they were both too exhausted to move. Natalie collapsed, sobbing. I believed you. I didn't pick up the phone. If I had just come home. Caleb is still in there. He has to be. She began digging through the charred remains with her bare hands. Friend tried to pull her away, but she was hysterical. Sarah stood up, her face a blank mask. The body hasn't been found. He's alive. He's just hiding to punish us. Yes, Natalie whispered, a flicker of hope returning to her eyes. He's alive. I'll find him. Sarah, Natalie, help. Liam had tripped and fallen into a pit of burnt debris. Neither woman looked back. They got into their separate cars and sped toward the police station. At the station, Natalie demanded to see the footage. Then, an officer handed her a small evidence bag. The footage shows no one leaving, ma'am. The fire was over 2,000 degrees. In a collapse like that, we might never find a body. But we found these in the primary bedroom area. Inside the bag were 3 deep red rubies, scorched but intact, and the blackened, twisted remains of a gold bracelet. The rubies were identical to the ones on my mother's watch. Natalie turned white. These were his. He never let them go. She whispered to herself, her voice cracking. The regret was a physical weight, crushing the air out of her lungs. Sarah felt the room spin. The world turned black, and she felt herself falling. A police officer caught her before she hit the floor. When Liam finally arrived, Sarah was sitting on a bench, looking like a ghost. Sarah, is Caleb really? Sarah turned to him. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her expression was terrifying. This is because of you, she rasped. Everything was fine until you showed up and started your pathetic little games. Sarah, it was an accident. Liam whimpered, trying to look innocent. Get out, Sarah said. Get out of my sight before I kill you myself. Liam looked at Natalie, but she wouldn't even look in his direction. He stood there, alone, realizing the game was over. He had lost his shield. I had settled in a quiet city in Portugal. Life moved slowly there. I woke up when I wanted, went to the market for fresh ingredients, and spent my afternoons sketching new designs. I went for long walks along the coast, letting the salt air clear my head. Occasionally, news from home reached me. I saw the headlines about my death. I heard that Sarah and Natalie had changed overnight, turning their grief into a scorched earth campaign against the Fosters. Natalie had released evidence proving Liam had plagiarized my work. He became a pariah overnight. Sarah and Natalie took back every gift, every car, and every cent they had ever given him. They exposed him as a fraud and his mother as a homewrecker. Seeing the news didn't make me feel anything. I was at peace. I started a new life under a new name. I got a job at a boutique architecture firm. My colleagues were kind, and my boss, Jocelyn, was a brilliant woman who looked out for me. 2 years passed in a blink. I had friends now. I had a life. I had no interest in dating, though. I was focused on the International Designers Cup. One day, Jocelyn told me we were partnering with a firm in New York. She wanted me to go. Your English is perfect, and you know the city, she said. It's a huge opportunity. Jocelyn, I'd rather not, I said. Send someone with more seniority. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to risk seeing them. I'm going too, she promised. The list is already submitted. You'll be fine. I gave in. To be safe, I logged in my old social media for the first time in years. The Elite Circle group chat was still active. Sarah had destroyed Liam, but she had destroyed her own reputation in the process. 5 months ago, Liam had caused a scene at the Montgomery offices, screaming about his private affairs with Sarah. The stock price had plummeted. The Fosters had been chased out of New York and were living in some tiny town in the Midwest, under constant surveillance by Sarah's people. There was no mention of where Natalie was. I closed the app. A week in New York wouldn't be so bad. I'd stay in the hotel, do the work, and leave. What were the odds of running into them? Once I landed in New York, I stayed invisible. I worked from the hotel suite and only left for mandatory meetings. On the final night, Jocelyn insisted I attend the farewell gala at the Hamilton Club. The whole night, I felt eyes on me. But every time I turned around, no one was there. The old anxiety started to crawl up my spine. I decided to leave early. Halfway through dinner, I excused myself to the restroom and slipped out the back exit. New York was in the middle of rush hour. I stood on the curb, trying to hail an Uber. Then I heard it, the sharp, rhythmic click of high heels on the pavement. I knew that sound in my bones. I didn't turn around. "Caleb?" A voice whispered behind me, trembling with shock. Is it really you?" I didn't answer. I kept my eyes on my phone. She stepped around to face me. Sarah looked like a ghost of her former self. Her eyes were red-rimmed and wide with disbelief. "Caleb, it's you." "I know it is." I looked up, tilting my head in confusion. "I'm sorry, miss. Are you talking to me?" 2 years of Mediterranean sun and a different style had changed me. I looked healthier, more mature. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Caleb, I was so wrong. Please, come home. I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. Liam lied to us. He manipulated everything." "I'm sorry," I said, my voice flat. "You must have the wrong person." "Caleb, please. I'll make it up to you. I swear." Liam's tricks hadn't been clever. They were pathetic. But Sarah and Natalie had been so eager to believe him. I had tried to fix our relationship a dozen times, and they had responded by humiliating me. They were my family, my sister and my fiancé, and they had stabbed me until I bled out. Now that the wounds had scarred over, they wanted to play nurse. "I'm calling the police," I said. "You're harassing me." She looked terrible. Her hair was unkempt, her makeup smudged. She looked like she was on the verge of a breakdown. The police cruiser pulled up minutes later. "Officer, this woman is delusional. She keeps calling me Caleb. My name is Leo Vance, and I'm here on business from Portugal." I showed them my new passport. "No, he's lying," Sarah screamed. "We grew up together. I know him anywhere." "People look alike, ma'am," I said coldly. "What proof do you have?" Sarah fumbled for her phone, wanted to show a photo. She froze. She didn't have any. I had burned them all, and I had even taken the childhood albums back from her mother before I died. I let out a soft, mocking laugh. "You don't even have a photo of this Caleb, and you're claiming I'm him? On what basis?" Sarah's face crumbled. She bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. "Caleb, I'll fix the house. I've already started. I'm rebuilding it exactly as it was. Please, just come see it." I ignored her. I let the police handle her and went back to my hotel. I booked the earliest flight out for the next morning. When I stepped out of my room at dawn, Sarah was leaning against the wall. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. "Caleb, my name is Leo," I said, walking past her. She chased me down the hall. "I'll make Liam and his mother crawl to you. They're living on payday loans in a trailer park, Caleb. I'll bring them here. I'll make them beg." I didn't care. I met Jocelyn and the team in the lobby. "Is that the girl you were telling me about?" Jocelyn asked, looking at the disheveled woman following us. "She's beautiful, even like that. Is she an ex?" "I don't know her," I said. At the airport, my ticket was flagged. I couldn't board. I knew it was Sarah. She had the power to tie up the system for an hour or two. I told Jocelyn to go ahead while I sorted it out. I turned around and saw Sarah standing in the terminal. She was wearing a trench coat, her hair messy, her eyes fixed on me. I gestured for her to come over. "What did you do to my ticket?" I asked. "I couldn't let you leave," she said simply. My gaze turned freezing. "Do you know why I don't live in this country anymore? Because in my heart, you and Natalie are dead. To me, you're just strangers." Sarah's face went white. "Caleb, we'll make it right. Just one more chance. Please." Her voice was a pathetic whisper. I shook my head. "You only realized you loved me because I left. You thought I'd never leave because I had no one else. You knew Liam was a liar, but you were too arrogant to admit it. You let me bleed out, Sarah, and now the blood is dry. Caleb, don't say my name. It makes me sick." "Natalie is on her way," Sarah whispered. "She misses you so much." "I don't care," I said. Back at the hotel, Natalie was already waiting. She was shaking as she held a folder of documents. When she saw me, she burst into tears. "Caleb, this is everything Liam took. I've recovered all. Just sign these, and it's all back in your name. I know you hate me, but let me do this for you." I didn't sign. I didn't yell. I just watched them. "I'm not going to sue you, and I'm not going to forgive you," I said. "I just want you to leave me alone." Natalie stood there, frozen. She knew me. She knew that if I were screaming, there was hope. But this silence? This was the end. Sarah had Liam and his mother brought to the hotel. Liam's mother looked 20 years older, wrinkled, gray, and broken. Liam looked like he'd been living on the streets. Seeing them like that gave me a flicker of satisfaction, but it was quickly replaced by disgust. Sarah and Natalie had been so tender with them once. Now, they were discarding them like trash. Their love was so cheap. "I've seen them," I said, looking past them. "Can I go now?" Sarah gave me a sad, ugly smile. Caleb, I'm not letting you go this time. She tried to use her influence to keep me in New York. For 15 days, they followed me, bought me things, and begged. I stopped talking to them. I stopped eating. Eventually, they realized they couldn't force a ghost to stay. I flew back to Portugal. I knew they were on the plane, but I didn't look back. When I got home, I found out my neighbors had moved out. My new neighbors were Sarah and Natalie. They had bought the house next door. I ignored them. One evening, Sarah was waiting by my gate. She looked gaunt. Caleb, I have something for you. She held out a box. Inside was a beautiful watch, encrusted with rubies. Her hands were covered in small scars. She had clearly tried to make parts of it herself. I don't want it. Caleb, what do I have to do for you to forgive me? She sobbed. I turned to her. If you want my forgiveness, disappear. Forever. Sarah looked like she was shattering into a million pieces. You're so cold. She didn't show up the next day. I focused on the designer's cup. I made it to the finals. I invited Jocelyn and my friends over to celebrate. While we were prepping, Natalie knocked on the door. She had a box of food from a five-star restaurant. I'm not taking it, Natalie. Caleb, will you ever forgive me? I moved on, I said. You should too. She went quiet. Mom's anniversary is coming up. Are you going? I thought about that day, the puppies, the dog, the empty cemetery. You should apologize to her, not me, I said. I went to the competition. I wore a tailored suit and stood on the stage. Natalie was in the audience, dressed in black. Sarah was nowhere to be seen. When the announcer called my name as the grand prize winner, the applause was deafening. I took the trophy, the one that had been stolen from me 2 years ago. In my speech, I thanked my team, Jocelyn, and my mother. I didn't mention Natalie. Afterward, Natalie caught me backstage. Caleb, Liam stabbed Sarah. She's in the ICU. What does that have to do with me? I asked. I flew back to New York for the memorial. Natalie met me at the airport and drove me to the cemetery. She had bought a mountain of flowers and offerings, trying to make up for all the years she missed. I knelt by the grave and talked to Mom for a long time. Natalie stood back, crying silently. Caleb, how can we make this right? She asked as we left. You can't, I said. Just stay out of my life. I understand, she whispered. I'll move out of the house in Portugal. I'll stay away. Good. Will you ever come back to New York? Who knows? But I don't plan on it. The next morning, before my flight, I saw Sarah. She was in a wheelchair, half her face covered in bandages. Liam had slashed her in a fit of rage. She would likely have a scar for life. Caleb, she rasped. I just want one more chance. No. She looked devastated. I understand. I won't bother you again. Can I? Can I just have one last hug? No, I said. I have a flight to catch. I walked away. It was April, but the wind felt like autumn. Back in Portugal, I got a promotion. Life was busy and good. Natalie moved back to New York, and a new tenant took her place. A bright, cheerful girl named Chloe. We started talking. We started dating. She was a designer too, and she was kind in a way Sarah never was. 3 years later, Natalie called me. Liam's mother had passed away in the Midwest. Liam had been sentenced to 8 years for the stabbing. Are you coming home for Christmas, Caleb? Natalie asked. No, I said. I like it here. I heard Sarah had become an alcoholic, drifting in and out of hospitals with stomach issues. I didn't ask for details. I walked outside into the snow. Chloe was standing there, wrapped in a thick scarf, her hair dusted with white. She waved at me, her smile lighting up the street. She ran into my arms and kissed me, then started telling me about her day. I listened, smiling, my heart finally at rest. Story complete.